What if the strongest man in the universe entered a world where only women held the power? A world of light, balance, and order. A universe protected by legends: Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Jean Grey, Supergirl, and more. Their bond was strong, their rule unshaken, until the sky cracked open, and he fell through. Superman, a symbol of hope, a force of strength, didn't come to fight. But with his arrival came a shift. The wind grew still, the stars dimmed, powers changed, and fear began to rise. Some called him a visitor, others a mistake. But no one expected what came next. A hidden force awakened, a darkness that fed on fear, division, and secrets. Now, the women who ruled this universe must face a truth they never imagined: that the real enemy may have followed him in. Can trust survive when worlds collide? Can unity win when power begins to break apart? Or will this girl universe fall, not by a villain's hand, but from within? This is not a fight of strength. It's a fight for truth, identity, and survival. And it all started the day Superman entered their world. The sky above shimmered like glass, and then it cracked. A blinding light tore through the clouds, followed by a roar that shook the stars. The girl universe, calm and powerful, had never seen anything like this. Until now. He appeared, falling from the heavens. Not like a meteor, not like a weapon, but like a question. Superman, the man of steel, a hero in his world, a stranger in this one. He landed gently, almost respectfully, but the universe reacted like it had been stung. The wind paused. The colors in the sky dimmed. Somewhere someone whispered, "Something's wrong." Because this world was ruled by women, powerful, brilliant, battle-scarred heroes who didn't need saving. They didn't need guidance. And they definitely didn't need a visitor with glowing eyes and a silent past. Wonder Woman was the first to sense the change in energy. Scarlet, which felt her magic pulse uncontrollably. Captain Marvel looked to the sky, her instincts screaming. Supergirl? She felt something even stranger. Something familiar. Something broken. Superman stood still, unsure of what to say, unsure if he even belonged. He had seen wars, galaxies rise and fall. But this place? It was calm, whole, and strong in a way he wasn't used to. It didn't feel like it needed him. But the universe had other plans. At first, the heroes watched him from a distance. No attack, no welcome, just watchfulness, like the quiet before a storm. He wasn't just powerful, he was unpredictable. And in a world where balance mattered, unpredictability was dangerous. Then the shift began. Small things at first. Powers began acting strange. Telepathy echoing without control. Energy blasts misfiring. Time slowing for just a second, then snapping back. The rules of the girl universe were changing, and they didn't know why. They only knew one thing had changed: him. Was he doing it? Was his body disrupting their world without him knowing? Was he the threat? Or worse, was he the bait? Superman tried to stay away, floating high in the sky, scanning for danger. But danger had already arrived. Inside him, around him. The heroes began to feel it. Some whispered that his presence was weakening their bond, that his energy didn't belong here, that he was too much, too powerful, too different. But Supergirl stood still, caught between two worlds. Was this really her cousin? Or just a version of him shaped by something else? He finally spoke. "I didn't come to fight. I don't even know why I'm here." No one answered. Not yet. Because deep down, every hero in this world could feel it. Something else had come with him. A shadow they couldn't name. A chill in their bones. Captain Marvel flew up to him. Her eyes narrowed. "Then why is everything falling apart?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't know. But the universe did. Somewhere, far beyond the stars, something ancient stirred. Something that fed on imbalance. On cracks in the system. On fear. And Superman, without knowing it, had opened the door. Back on the ground, Scarlet Witch's powers started trembling out of her control. Jean Grey heard thoughts that weren't her own. Even the strongest began to question themselves. And in that moment of doubt, the real danger grew. Not a villain, not a monster. Something worse. A tear in the heart of their universe. And it was getting bigger. Wonder Woman called a meeting. The heroes gathered. The question was simple. What do we do with him? Half wanted him gone. The other half wanted answers. And one, deep in her mind, feared they were all too late. Superman hovered above, feeling every shift. The air was different, heavy, emotional. He knew what fear felt like. But this wasn't just fear. This was something alive, feeding. He closed his eyes, and that's when he heard it. A voice. Not from outside, but from within. You've brought it with you. His eyes snapped open. Who said that? No one around him spoke, but something inside him had changed. Supergirl stepped forward, her voice low. Clark, what are you not telling us? He wanted to say nothing, but he couldn't lie. Not anymore. There was a voice before I came. It told me I was needed, that something terrible was coming, that I had to enter a different world, a place where balance was strong, where it could be broken. The room fell silent. And you came anyway? Black Widow asked. I thought I was stopping something, he replied. Now I don't know if I brought it with me. Thunder rumbled above. The balance was breaking faster now. Powers were flaring on their own. Emotions were high. And the universe itself was starting to bend under the weight of too many questions. Captain Marvel stepped closer. What if you're the key? What if this thing needed you to come here so it could follow? He didn't answer, because deep down he feared she was right. The light in the sky flickered. Stars began to pulse like a heartbeat. The heroes prepared for what they didn't know, but they could feel it. Something was building. Something was about to break through. And Superman? He wasn't sure anymore if he was the hero or the trigger. The sky didn't just shake, it bled light. Everything was falling out of sync. Days felt like seconds. Gravity shifted. Sounds echoed longer than they should. The girl universe was twisting, warping. And all signs pointed to one thing. Superman's arrival had opened more than a crack. He had opened a wound. Panic spread slowly, quiet at first. Whispers behind closed doors. Worried glances between powerful women who had never needed to worry before. For years, they had stood as protectors, leaders, and warriors. Now, they were questioning their own strength. Scarlet Witch's magic kept flickering out of rhythm. Jean Grey was hearing thousands of voices all at once. Captain Marvel couldn't stay in control of her cosmic energy. Something was taking their power, not all at once, but piece by piece, like a thief in the dark. And yet Superman? He seemed fine, almost too fine, floating above the chaos, eyes sharp, heart heavy. That made them suspicious. Why was he okay when everything else was falling apart? Supergirl, watching quietly, felt torn. She trusted him. She had grown up with his stories. She knew the man he used to be. But this version wasn't talking. He was hiding something. And secrets were dangerous in a world this fragile. Wonder Woman spoke up. Her voice, normally full of calm strength, was now tight. We can't let this continue. If he won't tell us the truth, we have to act. But act how? He wasn't attacking them. He wasn't even moving. He just watched, quiet, still, like he was waiting for something. Then it happened. A rip. Not in the sky, not in the ground, but in reality itself. Right in front of the heroes, space twisted. The air shimmered. A hole opened, not black, not empty, but full of moving shadows, shapes that had no form. Something was pushing through. It wasn't from this world, or any world. The women stepped back. Powers flared, eyes locked on the distortion. And then, for a split second, they saw it. A face made of smoke, a smile with no mouth, a feeling of being watched from inside your own mind. It vanished. The hole closed. But the message was clear. Something had come in with Superman. Something old, something patient. And now it was awake. The Avengers looked at Superman. Captain Marvel's voice cut through the silence. What was that? I don't know, he said. But his eyes said something different. Black Widow stared him down. You're lying. Superman stepped forward. slowly, not to fight, to confess. I didn't mean to bring it. I didn't know I could. But before I came here, something touched me. It didn't speak in words. It spoke in feelings, in fear. It said if I didn't come here, everything would fall apart. I thought it meant your world needed saving. But maybe it meant it needed feeding. Silence. They understood now. This wasn't about him being evil. It was worse. He had been used. He was the door. And the enemy? It was already inside. Wonder Woman looked around. Then we need to close the door. Seal it. Push it back. But how? Jean Grey asked. If it's feeding off our power, our minds, our fear, how do we fight something that isn't even fully here yet? That's when Supergirl spoke up, her voice shaky. Maybe we don't fight it with power. Maybe we fight it with understanding, with control, with unity. But unity was the very thing the enemy was breaking. Each hero was starting to doubt the others. Some blamed Superman. Others blamed leadership. Some wanted to strike. Others wanted to run. The real fight had already started, in their hearts. And the enemy was winning. Scarlet Witch's magic exploded in a burst, uncontrolled. Jean screamed as invisible hands reached into her mind. Captain Marvel fell to her knees, clutching her head. Each of them was seeing their own fears come alive. Their powers didn't protect them. They betrayed them. And still, Superman stood tall. Not untouched, but focused. He shouted through the chaos. This thing isn't strong because of me. It's strong because we're afraid of each other. It feeds on cracks, on silence, on suspicion. That's how it grows. But the damage was already spreading. The heroes were being pulled apart by fear, visions, memories, whispers in their ears telling them they were alone, that they were failing. Black Widow dropped her weapons. Jean Grey collapsed. Wonder Woman screamed in anger as her lasso turned to smoke in her hands. Superman closed his eyes. He remembered what the voice had shown him, his worst fears. A world where no one trusted him, where every choice he made caused destruction, where the people he loved turned away. And then he understood. The enemy didn't need to fight them. It only needed them to give up. He turned to Supergirl. We need to speak together. All of us. Out loud. We need to push back, not with power, but with truth. Supergirl nodded. She screamed over the noise. Everyone, focus. Talk to each other. Say what you feel. Say your truth. Wonder Woman clutched her chest. I'm scared, she gasped. I've never felt powerless before. Jean Grey cried out. I don't want to hurt anyone again. Scarlet Witch whispered. I feel like I'm losing myself. And slowly, something changed. The shaking slowed. The visions faded. The pressure in their minds eased. The shadows didn't like honesty. The darkness couldn't feed on truth. Each hero spoke, and with every word, the entity's grip slipped, until all eyes turned to Superman. He looked at them, raw open. I didn't come here to save you. I came here because I thought I was supposed to. But I was wrong. I didn't understand this world. I didn't respect it. And I'm sorry. Silence again, but not heavy. This time, it felt lighter. The enemy had pulled them to the edge, but their unity had pulled them back. The rip in reality tried to open again, but it was weaker now, flickering, struggling. Superman looked around. We're not done, but we're not broken. We still stand. And just like that, the energy in the universe began to shift again. Not violently, not with fear, but with a spark of hope. The heroes, the women who had always protected their world, stood together once more. This time, not just as warriors, but as a family. And the darkness, sensing its defeat, began to retreat. But it left one final whisper. This is only the beginning. The light returned, but it wasn't the same. Everything felt quiet, but too quiet. Like the universe was holding its breath. The heroes had pushed back the fear, stopped the collapse. But deep inside, everyone knew the real fight hadn't started yet. Something had changed in Superman. He wasn't floating anymore. He was walking now, heavy, like the weight of guilt had finally settled. The truth wasn't just that he had opened the door. It was that something inside him might still be holding it open. Jean Grey kept watching him, not with anger, but with something worse, doubt. She wasn't sure if he was himself anymore. The entity had touched his mind. They had all seen how it worked. And if it had even a small piece of him, they were all still in danger. Captain Marvel's powers were stabilizing, but her mind was racing. We need answers. We can't keep guessing. Her voice cracked slightly. What if it's already too late? Wonder Woman nodded. We need to find the source, not just the hole in the sky, the real source, where this thing came from, what it wants. And then unexpectedly it spoke, not out loud, but inside them. 1,000 whispers, 1,000 thoughts, all at once, all different, but all coming from the same place. I am already here. The heroes froze. Supergirl gasped. Did anyone else hear that? Everyone had, but no one wanted to believe it. The enemy wasn't waiting in the sky. It was inside them. The fear came back instantly, but not wild this time. It was sharp, focused. The entity had learned from the last attack. It didn't need to show its face. It could speak through them, move through them, break them from the inside. Scarlet, which clutched her chest. Her magic was swirling around her like a storm. She looked panicked, lost. It's in my mind. It's twisting everything. My memories, my thoughts. Jean tried to reach her telepathically, but her own powers recoiled. Whatever this thing was, it was now blocking them from each other, cutting the lines, creating silence. Superman stepped forward, fists clenched. You want me? Take me. Leave them. No response, because it already had. It wasn't trying to take Superman. It was trying to become him. Captain Marvel's eyes went wide. It's not feeding on fear anymore. It's evolving. It's learning. It's copying us. They finally understood. The entity wasn't just chaos. It was something worse. It was intelligent. And now it had found a host. Not just any host. A perfect one. Superman fell to one knee, grabbing his head. Flashes of darkness rippled across his body. His voice twisted, echoing, as if another version of him was trying to speak through his throat. You let me in. The heroes moved fast. Supergirl rushed forward. Clark, stay with me. But he didn't answer. His eyes were glowing, not red, but black. Not burning with power, but pulsing with shadow. The entity had taken hold. Jean reached out with her mind, trying to push back, but the voice hit her like a wave. He is mine now. The light has no place here. Wonder Woman threw her lasso, trying to bind him, but it snapped midair, unraveling into dust. The universe's laws were breaking again, just like before. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was possession. Superman rose, but he didn't fly. He hovered, slowly, as if gravity didn't apply to him anymore. His cape didn't move. His body didn't shift. He was frozen, and yet floating. Scarlet Witch screamed. It's creating a version of him, not the real one. A shadow version, a fake god. Supergirl's heart shattered. We need to get him back. But how do you pull someone out of their own mind? The entity spoke through him again. You needed a leader. I became your greatest one. You needed a symbol. I wore his face. You needed fear. I gave you truth. Captain Marvel lit up with power. We're not afraid of you. It laughed. Not with joy, but with certainty. You will be, when you see what I can do with your greatest hero. Then, suddenly, Superman turned toward them. But it wasn't him. The face was the same. The voice was the same. But the soul, it was gone. He moved faster than lightning, struck harder than any of them had ever seen. One by one, the heroes were thrown back. Not killed, not hurt badly, just pushed, separated, disconnected. That was the goal. Isolation, divide, then conquer. Black Widow tried to sneak behind him, but he turned instantly, blasting the ground near her. Jean tried to trap him mentally, but all she saw was darkness. Superman, or whatever was now wearing him, was unbeatable. But then Supergirl stood up, alone, between him and the rest. You want a body? You want a name? You want him? She yelled. Then take me instead. Everything stopped. The entity hesitated. Supergirl stepped forward. I'm connected to him, just like you are. So take me. Fight someone who wants to fight back. That's when it cracked. Not her voice, not the ground, but the hold. Superman twitched, just slightly. Inside, he heard her. He remembered her. Her voice, her heart. The one piece the entity couldn't fake. Love. He whispered her name. Kara. The entity screamed through him. No. Superman clutched his chest, pain ripping through his face. The shadow was fighting back. But now it was a battle inside him. And he wasn't alone anymore. All the heroes began speaking at once. We believe in you. You're stronger than this thing. Come back. Their voices rose. Together. Unified. And for a moment, the shadow flickered. Superman dropped to the ground, breathing hard. His suit torn. His skin cracked with light and dark energy. I'm still here, he gasped. But it's not gone. Wonder Woman stepped beside him. Then we end this. Together. And high above them, the sky began to open again, not with fear, but with fire. Because now they knew the truth. The entity wasn't just trying to copy their hero. It was trying to replace him. And it was almost done, unless they stopped it right now. The sky was breaking again. But this time, it wasn't because of Superman. It was because of the thing inside him, fighting, growing, adapting. The shadow wasn't just trying to win. It was trying to stay. Forever. Superman stood, barely holding himself together. Cracks of dark energy ran across his skin. His cape was torn. His voice was strained. Every second, the entity pushed deeper into his mind, trying to erase what made him him. Supergirl refused to step back. Her hands shook, but her eyes didn't. I know you're still in there. I don't care how strong it is. You're stronger. Superman looked at her, and for one terrifying second, his eyes turned black again. But they flickered. He was still fighting. Behind them, the other heroes regrouped. Wonder Woman wiped blood from her lip. Captain Marvel's fist glowed. Scarlet Witch pulled her magic into a tight storm around her. They were tired, broken, and outmatched, but not defeated. Because now they knew the truth. The entity couldn't survive without feeding on fear, division, and silence. And the more they stood together, the less power it had. But time was running out. The shadow began tearing holes in the sky again, each one pulsing with darkness. More versions of it were forming, smaller, faster, smarter. Copies of pain, fragments of fear. The fight was no longer just about Superman. It was about the entire universe. The entity had a voice again. This time, it echoed through the wind. Why fight for them? It hissed inside Superman's head. They feared you, blamed you. Look how easily they turned. But Superman gritted his teeth. They didn't turn. They trusted me, even when I didn't trust myself. The entity pressed harder. You are alone. You were always alone. Superman remembered flying through his world, day after day, above people who looked up at him but never truly understood him. He remembered saving lives and still feeling like an outsider. But then he looked at the women around him, beaten, bruised, standing shoulder to shoulder for him, with him. And he knew the entity was wrong. I'm not alone, he growled. Not anymore. Suddenly he roared. A shockwave burst from his body. Not of power, of will. The shadow screamed in pain, struggling to hold on. Light cracked through the blackness across his skin. The others saw it. Scarlet, which didn't wait. She unleashed a beam of red magic directly at the nearest shadow gate. It shattered like glass. Jean Grey rose into the air, her eyes burning with fire. We close every door. Now, Captain Marvel shot through the sky like a comet, ripping through another portal before it could finish forming. Wonder Woman charged forward, cutting down a dark fragment trying to slip through. No more fear, no more silence. The girl universe, broken moments ago, was now glowing with resistance. The shadows screamed louder. They twisted and moved faster, trying to create illusions, trying to fake voices, memories, attacks. Anything to confuse them. One clone whispered to Supergirl in her own voice, "He will destroy you in the end." She blasted it to pieces. "He saved me. I'll save him." Back on the ground, Superman was losing strength. The more he fought the shadow inside, the more it pushed back. His hands trembled. His knees gave out. The entity was digging into his core. "This is your final moment," it said inside him. "Let me take over. You won't have to feel this pain anymore." But then, like a spark in the darkness, he felt something. A hand on his shoulder. It was Wonder Woman. "We've got you," she said. One by one, the heroes surrounded him. Jean Grey placed her hand on his back, linking minds. Scarlet, which stood in front of him, forming a barrier of light. Supergirl held his hand. Captain Marvel floated behind him, glowing like a star. And, together, they did something the entity couldn't understand. They forgave him. They accepted him. Even with the mistake, even with the damage, even with the darkness still crawling inside him. They stood with him. That was the final crack. The entity screamed, not from pain, but from fear. It had never known connection. It had never faced forgiveness. It had no defense against love. The darkness began to pour out of Superman's body like black smoke, twisting, screaming, trying to escape. But the heroes held strong, their energy linked, their emotions in sync. Jean Grey locked eyes with Superman. "Pull it out. It's yours to fight." And he did. He reached inside his own mind and tore it out. With one final roar, he ripped the entity from his soul, threw it into the sky, and blasted it with everything he had left. The explosion wasn't fire. It was light, bright, blinding, pure light that spread across the sky like dawn breaking after the longest night. The portals vanished. The shadow fragments dissolved. The wind stilled, and silence returned. But this time it was peaceful. Superman collapsed, caught by Supergirl before he hit the ground. His breathing was slow, weak, but real. His eyes blue again. "I'm still here," he whispered. "You came back," she smiled, tears in her eyes. The other heroes surrounded them, not as soldiers, not even as teammates, as sisters. They had faced the impossible. They had stood against a creature that didn't just want power. It wanted identity. It wanted control. It wanted to wear their faces and replace their truth. But it failed, because these heroes didn't fight for victory. They fought for each other. And in the end, that was stronger than any shadow. But high above the clouds, far beyond the sky, something else had been watching. Not the entity. Something older. Something deeper. Something that sent it. A ripple moved across the stars. Because this wasn't the final fight. This was only the warning. The sky was quiet again. Not silent with fear. Silent with peace. The shadow was gone. The cracks in reality were closing. The world had survived. Superman lay on the ground, breathing slowly. Around him stood the heroes who had once questioned him, feared him, even blamed him. Now, they stood in a circle, not guarding him, but guarding with him. He opened his eyes to see Supergirl above him, her face wet with tears, her smile shaky but real. "You did it," she whispered. He shook his head weakly. "We did." The others gathered close. Wonder Woman reached out her hand and helped him up. Captain Marvel nodded in quiet respect. Scarlet, which was still glowing faintly, her hands crackling with calm magic. Even Black Widow, always the skeptic, gave a slow, quiet nod. They didn't need speeches. The moment said everything. They had won. But the world around them looked different. The energy in the air had shifted. Not dangerous, just deeper. Like something ancient had passed through and left a mark. The girl universe was healing, but it would never be the same. Jean Grey stepped forward, her voice gentle but serious. "We didn't just stop something. We revealed something." The others listened. This wasn't an enemy that came for war. It came for identity. It wanted to be us, to erase what we are and wear it like a mask. Captain Marvel crossed her arms. It studied us, learned from us, and it used the person we thought we knew best to break us from the inside. Superman stood taller now, the guilt in his eyes softened by clarity. "It used me, because it knew I had doubts, regrets, weakness. Supergirl stepped in, and that's why it failed, because it relied on weakness. But we leaned on strength, our strength. Wonder Woman nodded, the strength to trust, to forgive, to stand together even when it hurt. The ground beneath them shimmered with golden light. The universe itself was responding, like a living organism taking its first deep breath after nearly drowning. But far above, beyond their sight, the stars twisted, just for a moment. Scarlet, which looked up, eyes narrowing. Something else is out there. Jean tilted her head, sensing the psychic echo. We weren't just fighting it. We were being tested. Superman clenched his fists. Then who was behind the test? A beat of silence. Then Black Widow said what none of them wanted to say out loud. Something bigger. It was true. They had fought a creature made of emotion, fear, and thought. A being that didn't just attack with power, but with meaning. It wanted to become them. That kind of entity doesn't just appear. It is sent. Wonder Woman turned toward the others. We can't go back to normal. Not after this. Captain Marvel agreed. We need to be ready. If this was just the beginning, the real threat hasn't shown its face yet. Jean looked at Superman. You said something pulled you here. Do you still feel it? He closed his eyes, searching. His heartbeat slowed. His senses reached out, but this time, nothing responded. No voice. No call. Just silence. No, he said finally. But I don't think it's over. I think it's waiting. Supergirl stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. Then so are we. They didn't need to form a new team. They didn't need to build a new tower. Their strength wasn't in buildings or uniforms. It was in the bond forged through fire. The girl universe had never been shaken like this before. But it had held. Not because of brute force, but because every hero refused to give up on each other, even when the world told them to. They walked together now, through a world slowly healing. People came out of hiding. Skies returned to color. Time flowed properly again. Power found its balance. The fear had passed. The light had returned. Superman turned to leave, but Supergirl stopped him. You don't have to go. He looked at her with tired eyes. I don't belong here. You do now, she said. You didn't just fight with us. You listened. You learned. You became part of us. Scarlet, which stepped closer. The universe chose you for a reason. Maybe not to save us. Maybe to remind us who we are. Wonder Woman gave a gentle smile. Strength isn't about lifting mountains. It's about lifting each other. Superman breathed deeply. For once, he didn't feel like an alien. He didn't feel like an outsider. He felt seen. But still, his mission felt unfinished. I need to return, he said. Not because I don't belong here, but because my world needs to know what I've learned. Captain Marvel raised an eyebrow. And what's that? He looked at them all, his voice firm. That unity isn't just power. It's protection. It's purpose. And when darkness comes, the strongest weapon isn't might, it's love. They stood in silence, the words echoing through their hearts. Superman flew into the sky, slowly, almost like he didn't want to leave. The heroes watched him go, not as someone leaving, but as someone carrying their story forward. He would tell them what he saw here, what he felt here, and maybe, just maybe, his universe would start to heal too. Down below, the heroes turned to face the horizon. The battle was over, but something was coming. A force beyond shadows, beyond fear. A force that had watched them survive and was now preparing for something worse. But the heroes didn't flinch. They stood taller, because now they weren't just warriors. They were witnesses. They were ready. And whatever was coming next, it would not face them divided. It would face them united, together, always.